If you're like most people, you probably consume way more content than you actually create. And look, I'm not here to shame you or anything, because I used to be the exact same. So real quick, go ahead and check your screen time right now. If it's over 4 hours a day on average, we've got a bit of a problem. And even if it's not, this video will help you to stay on track so you don't fall into that category ever again. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not completely against content consumption. There is actually a lot of great stuff out there. So watching a video every now and then won't cause any harm, especially if it's my videos or something similar. So for me, I mainly consume content where you actually gain value from it. But here's the thing, you can spend hours watching helpful, motivational content and it will not change a single thing in your life. And it took me a while to realize that. When I first got into self-improvement, I obviously heard about it from scrolling on my phone and I was hooked instantly. I would consume an unhealthy amount of this type of content, like it was just bad. I would wake up and instead of actually doing something, I would watch someone's 5 a.m. morning routine on YouTube. I would sit there and watch podcasts. Yes, watch podcasts. I wouldn't listen to it in the background or anything. I would just sit there for 2 hours and watch the entire thing. And worst of all, I would scroll for hours on TikTok. And my For You page was never brain rot or anything like that. It was always self-improvement related. So by scrolling on TikTok for hours, it felt to me that I was being super productive. So this lasted for a while until I was watching this podcast and this guy was talking about his screen time and how high it is. And he said something that kind of like slapped me in the face, like a wake up kind of slap. He said, I'm not consuming content though, I'm actually creating. And it just hit me. I was doing it all wrong. And that is when I finally started to create more than I actually consumed. Now, before I get into what actually helped me to change, I just want to say, you're never going to fully cut out consuming content. It's literally everywhere. I tried going full monk mode at first, no YouTube, no TikTok, no Instagram, fully deleted everything, but I mean, that didn't really last that long. The trick is you don't need to completely stop consuming, you just need to flip the ratio. As long as you're creating more than you're consuming, you're in a good spot. And for me, I like to spend double the amount creating than consuming. So if you're creating for 8 hours and watching things for 4 hours, that is pretty solid. That is good progress. The problem is when it's flipped the other way around. 8 hours of scrolling and maybe 1 hour of output if you're lucky. That is when you're cooked. So here is what I did. First, you need to label your phone as a tool, not a distraction. Most people think their phone is their number one enemy. They always tend to put their phone in another room. Maybe they lock it inside of some sort of box. But the real enemy is actually the one controlling the phone, not the actual phone itself. So for me, I only keep apps on there that were actually useful, like Notion, Google Calendar, TikTok to upload of course, CapCut, ChatGPT. You guys get the idea. And if you want me to upload a separate video where I go more in depth on the most useful apps to have on your phone, let me know. Anyways, whenever I picked up my phone, I never even had the option to scroll. Now, you guys don't need to go that extreme of fully uninstalling Instagram and all that, but like I mentioned before, as long as you're in a surplus with content consumed and created, you're good. However, I suggest you add time limits to those distracting apps, just for like an extra layer of security, and you can just do that in settings in the screen time. And it's just in case you ever find yourself in some sort of never-ending rabbit hole. It'll just pop up on your screen and it'll say your time's up. And you can always like click add extra 15 minutes or add it like ignore time limit for the day, but that just adds friction. And yeah, I mean it's just good to have. You're not going to be completely kicked off, so if something like an emergency kind of happens, you're not going to be like blocked from using it, but it will just add a bit of extra friction for you to actually consume, which is really good. Anyways, another thing that I actually started to do was to write books. Now when I say create, it doesn't always mean posting to social media platforms. It can be almost anything. It can be even art like drawing, it can be like music creation, it can be anything. So for me, what I found quite enjoyable was pulling up a Google Doc and just writing a book. All creating is about putting your ideas out there, whether it's in a journal, a blank sheet of paper, some beats, like it could just be anything. Another key tip, and probably the most important, is to track your screen time. Identify why some days were higher than others and ways that you can prevent that from happening. And also take pride in yourself when your screen time is very low. It won't be perfect every day, so it's important to monitor it frequently. And lastly, always set aside dedicating time for creating. Block it out like you would with a gym session or a meeting. Put it on your calendar and always stick to it no matter what. And honestly, even put aside time for you to consume content. That way you don't just do it mindlessly, you actually have a set time for you to actually consume it. Don't stick it on your calendar or anything like that. For me, the time that I set aside is to consume content before bed and whilst I'm eating. However, do whatever works best for you. But yeah, that's basically it. If this video helps you in any type of way, consider chucking a like and subscribe. I post videos like these every single week and I'm trying to change people's lives. Thank you guys so much for watching and I'll see you all in the next video.